I really didn't like what I was doing. I didn't care for the work, didn't care for the people. I felt very kind of jaded with the 9 to 5 and the standard life that everyone had hyped it up so much and said that that's what we got to do. I met this guy that had the coolest job I ever heard of. I was like, I need to do this. And that's what I did. So I just got back home and I started getting into the swing of it. We have 30,000 in tip money. We're gonna go travel Bali. I started selling courses basically in 2023. Right now, we're probably sitting between 10 and 20 per month on 5 figures.
Hello, and welcome to the Art of Selling Online Courses. We are here to share winning strategies and secret hacks from top performers in the online course industry. My name is John Ainsworth, and today's guest is Hugo Ortega. Now, Hugh transformed his life from a burned-out materials engineer in Houston to a world-traveling super yacht captain, and now he helps others to do the same as well. So he left his corporate career to backpack the world, and a chance encounter in Myanmar introduced him to the super yacht industry, where he worked his way from complete beginner to licensed 500-ton captain in just 8 years. And since launching in 2022, Hugo's coached 250 students or more with a 90% job placement rate through a personalized system of one-on-one coaching, EV optimization, and career support. He's featured on Bravo's Below Deck. He's got 68,000 social media followers, and he's become the go-to mentor for escaping the 9 to 5 and building an adventurous career on the high seas. Hugo, welcome to the show.
Thank you, John. Thanks for having me. What an intro.
Were you featured I saw on your website on Tim Ferriss as well? Was that like on the 4-Hour Workweek blog or?
No. So I was adjusting the logo. That was from the template that I had. He's featured my mentor, but not me. No, but okay. That's my goal.
That'd be cool, man, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
So I kind of covered it there, but take us into a little bit more detail. Like, who do you help and what do you help them with?
I basically work with anyone who's, I like to call them travel misfits, or people that are having that wanderlust bug. It spans a ton of different people and age ranges, but I'd say probably between 20 years old all the way up to 50. Some people are having a career change and some people are getting fresh out of school, but they know that whatever they're doing, they don't like it. They want something else and they want it to have travel. And I basically open the door for them to realize, like, hey, there's a billion different careers out there that you could do, but there's one where you make a lot of money and you're traveling in a really cool and unique way, and I can help you get there.
Sweet. That's funny when you talking about Tim Ferriss. It's like nearly everybody who I know who runs their own business, the order of steps was read 4-Hour Workweek, started business, quit job, traveled the world. And it's like nearly all of my friends, that's their thing, right? And I've got people running multi-million-dollar businesses who they just at some point 2008 onwards, they read that book and they went off and started like traveling. And a lot of them are travel misfits. Just like, I got to keep moving. I got to keep going places. What was it that got you started? Why did you, how did you end up with that chance encounter in Myanmar?
Well, it's really funny you say that, because that book did trigger my my entrepreneurship journey, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. But when I was working previously, my old life, I was an engineer. My parents are immigrants to the U.S. I grew up in the Bronx at first, and I knew I wanted to get out of that kind of lifestyle. So I knew that university is kind of the quick hack, or the path well traveled. You do that, and you're going to at least be guaranteed a certain amount of money, a certain amount of stability, and a good life. So I did that, and I studied engineering, and it didn't take very long for me to realize that that wasn't my passion. That wasn't my calling. I really didn't like what I was doing. I didn't care for the work, didn't care for the people, and I felt very kind of jaded with the 9 to 5 and the standard life that everyone had hyped it up so much and said that that's what we got to do: the house, the picket fence, the dog, the girlfriend. And I never subscribed to that.
Don't like picket fences.
No.
Fence.
And thancfully, I always had a travel bug within me. I had done small trips, and I think a year before that, right after graduation, I had done a small trip to Thailand. But seeing so many people online, reading Tim Ferriss's book and all these things, I was like, there's so many people that make a life work archetyped while traveling. So I was like, let me just take a trip, because that's very kind of spontaneous for me. And being an engineer, I was very like by the book. And I was like, I'll figure it out as I go. And I took this 1-year backpacking trip, and I went through Eastern Europe. I finally got to Southeast Asia, and I kept looking at the clock. I'm like, shit, I've got a few months left. I still haven't figured out my life. And that was when I was in Myanmar that I met this guy that had the coolest job I ever heard of. He was a yachty. He was a deckhand that worked in the Mediterranean in the summers and in the Caribbean in the winters. And his phone grid was just beautiful crystal blue waters, hanging out in the coolest ports, these luxury super yachts that I never even knew that boats could look that beautiful. And honestly, the more I started talking to him, the more kind of I realized that he had no background in boating and in what is it, in like being, overly on the water or any crazy experience that would have made me think that that was why he was doing it. He had also been a university graduate. He had also been jaded with his life. And he told me, hey, if you want to travel the world and do this, like, it's really easy. I'll teach you how to do it. And it's X, Y, Z. And I started traveling with him. We were on a trip for about 3 months. And during that time, I kept meeting more and more yacht crew because his friends would all meet up. And that's why it kept seeming alluring, because they're like, oh, yeah, we take 6 months off between jobs. Or we just left a boat. We have 30,000 in tip money. We're going to go travel Bali. And, the wheels just started ticking. And I was like, shit, like, you can make a lot of money. They're going to beautiful places. They're traveling when they're working. They're traveling when they're not. They're always on jet skis. They're always in the water. They've got beautiful tans. I was like, I need to do this. And that's what I did. So I just got back home and I started getting into the swing of it.
Nice. So do you still work on yachts? Do you still captain, or are you just like, you're selling courses, this is your full-time gig now?
So I started selling courses basically in 2023. In 2022, I was doing more like consultation type services, and I went almost 2 years straight. Well, I did some temporary work in the meantime, but I kind of just did the course thing for 2 years. And then, as you mentioned before, Below Deck kind of pulled me in, and I was like, well, that's an opportunity I'm not going to miss. So I did that. And then after that, I also kind of stumbled into a captain position, which I'm currently doing now. And, I got the business to a point that I felt comfortable being able to juggle both. I think I've always been someone who chases novel ideas and then also likes to overload my plate. So it works really well. But I think at the position I'm at now, I'm probably only going to focus on temporary work and kind of doing freelance contracts, because that's one of the good things about yachting, that you don't always have to be full-time on a yacht. You don't have to be there 365 days. So because I have so much experience over the years, I can kind of archetype a life that works with this, and then also just take breaks where I'm majority on land and just come back to yachts, because, at the end of the day, it's still a really cool lifestyle. I don't want to close the door completely. And I also feel like it makes it more authentic and believable, because you still see me going back and forth between it. Like, if my content switches to just like, hotel rooms and stuff, like, I'll be able to keep the momentum, but people eventually are going to go, does this guy even do this anymore?
Mm. Do you still travel when you're working on the course business, or do you then stop in one place and kind of head down on that?
So I've been traveling since I started the course business. So when I first launched, I went to Vietnam. Cost of living and, geographical arbitrage. I was like, well, if I'm going to be limiting how much money I make, me and my girlfriend, we work on the business together. We just went to Vietnam, and I basically spent 2 years hopping about different parts of Southeast Asia, Vietnam, Thailand, a little bit of Indonesia. And I found, it made it so, one, we could stretch the money a lot further, and two, we could still have a really good quality of life, even if we were only making, a few $1,000s a month, or, up to 5 figures. As you know, $10,000 a month, once you take out expenses, in Southeast Asia, you can still be a sultan. But if you go back to, I don't know, South Florida, where I was living, I mean, I'd be probably on the street.
So you've said you should work harder at your course business than you ever did for your day job. Why do you think that?
Well, I think looking at social media and everything now, I feel like everyone wants to be a coach. Everyone's selling a course about courses, or coaching about coaching. And it's gotten to the point that I think everyone thought or understood that it was just very simple to do this. Like, hey, launch up a website on Kajabi or Circle or whatever, and you go ahead, point people towards it, and start selling something. And I just don't subscribe to the idea that it's that simple and passive. I mean, you could if you're trying to sell, I guess, a $1 product, but then at the end of the day, no one's going to buy it because it's not worth anything. So I think if a lot of the gurus and coaches out there knew that it was going to be a harder slog, especially at the beginning at least, than whatever they were doing before, then we'd at least weed out some people that don't deserve to be doing this. Because coaching is just that, right? You're actually hand-holding and working directly with someone. It's not just pumping them to a squeeze page or a landing page and then going like, okay, see you, like, I'm off in Bali, I'm going to go surf for 9 hours a day and never talk to anyone. Like, if you're promising something like that, then it has to follow through with the promise. And I think that when you know very well the marketing, the fulfillment, the planning, putting everything together, especially at the beginning, you're wearing so many hats. Like, you have to work hard, you have to learn, because it's so different from everything we've done. We're teaching someone to do the thing we're doing or what we know about, but all the things around that require us to sell it, it's a completely new skill set.
Yeah, I think that you said, particularly at the beginning, a few times there, and I like totally agree. It's like getting these kind of businesses going is not easy, but then you get it up and going and you can have this incredible lifestyle. What I see with some people is that they get to the point when they're making enough money and they're just like, all drive is gone. And I'm like, oh, keep a bit, like keep pushing a bit, like, yeah, have the nice life, but then just at least keep trying to build the audience and like make new courses and whatever, because who knows, the market might change, right? And that nice life might go away. And it's like, well, just at least keep pushing hard enough to be kind of getting somewhere with it. But yeah, getting going. Like, I've got a friend, he gets quite a lot of shout outs actually on the podcast, because like I see him like every week. And so I kind of have seen his journey in the beginning. He's been on the podcast, Jack. It was the episode around banjo skills. And his first year has just been like, oh, it's all learning new skills. It's all a slog. It's all difficult. It's all like numbers are all small. But he's like, I don't know, a year and a half in, something like that. And he's now at the point where it's like, okay, this is now paying his lifestyle. He can't do anything luxurious, but it's like, and he doesn't need to worry about going back to doing what he was doing before. And it's like, oh, that's cool. Because then if he makes, as he does the same thing, he makes more money, and it grows and it grows and it grows and it becomes fantastic, But getting going, I see why people don't make it through sometimes, because it's like, there's a lot to do to get to a point where it's actually pays as much money as just doing a job.
Yeah. And I think I see that even in my space, I've seen people pop up and then they get discouraged and then they leave. But I think that's also the nature of people, right? Like, everyone underestimates how much time and effort it's going to take to do something. That's why everyone starts a DIY project, and then they vastly overestimate their skills. And then when they get down to it, they're like, yeah, screw this, because no one likes being uncomfortable. So naturally, I think the course business is going to have the same thing, because you're going to see people just follow the same trends they always do. But yeah, I think the prevalence of social media makes everyone feel like, oh, I can do that, and they can't.
Yeah. So when you've been building your audience, where's your main audience? Is that Instagram?
Yeah, my main driver right now is Instagram. So right there, I think currently we have about 73,000 followers. So the 68 was probably from when we first started talking. And then we've gotten to that. We're slowly spreading onto the other channels, but I also follow the idea that once you got something nailed down, then spread, because if you're going to spread yourself too thin, then it's not worth spreading at that point. So that's kind of where we're at now, starting to repurpose and move everything outwards.
Nice. And what are you at in terms of email list? How big have you got that?
I'm somewhere between 13 and 15,000 right now. So I think probably around 14,000 is a safe number.
Okay, cool. Now, you've said you aren't doing things right till you get hate mail. Why is that?
Well, what I mean is when you get big enough, then you start getting noticed by people, and then you get people that are jealous, or people that are like, well, why is this person doing that? Like, I've considered myself a guru and I'm not doing that. So I think all that stuff comes once you finally get enough visibility. So what I meant was, that's when I knew that I was doing it right. When I was getting people that were jealous, or people saying like, oh, like, why do you get to be the guru? Oh, because I'm the one who took the risk, or you just sat here and kept doing your job, right? So I think inherently, it's a numbers game. Let's say if you get 0.01% hate mail, then once you get that first one, you're like, oh, I'm finally big enough. I've got an audience.
There's this site that I came across once where people would take marketing courses, buy them, like download it and then upload it, and so you could just get access to all these marketing courses for almost no money. And a friend of mine, I told me that his course had been added onto that site, and he was like, I was quite pleased. Like, I was successful enough that people were like, oh, his course is worth taking, we should add that onto the site now. They got famous enough. I was like, I quite like that. That's quite a good kind of framing of it, get honored by it.
Yeah. That's funny.
So what's the the plan with email? Do you send a lot of content emails? Do you send out promotions to people? Like, how do you use email?
Well, to be honest, I've got a few funnels that are built in, like especially around freebies and some of them around certain holidays. But I need to get better at just sending like broadcast emails on a regular cadence, because obviously that's a big part of how you can connect with the audience. So right now, like when you sign up for freebies, or I've got some pretty intricate trees that they drive you from one to the other, and then eventually they dump you into the big holding tank, and
Mhm.
that at that point I'll send emails sporadically. I'll do promotions as well, but I do know I need to get better at that. It's just I just need to systematize that a little bit better, so it's not just because you know how it is. If it's something that you have to think about, go and do, you're so much less likely to do it. Whereas when you have a system that's like, hey, I do this on this day always, or I'm going to bulk do it on this day, then it's a lot easier. So that's what
Yeah.
I'm moving into too.
I've got a group coaching program, and we used to have a client in there who was doing fantastically well. She was making absolute bank with it, and yet he said to us that if it wasn't for the fact that she knew she was going to be coming on those group coaching calls, she
Yeah.
wouldn't have been sending out the email promotion every month, because she would have been like, "Oh, I'll put it off because of this or that." And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
"Yeah, but every time you send one, you make like $50,000." But and yet
Yeah.
she still would have put it off if she hadn't had that kind of system and accountability and knowing I'm going to turn up on the call and I'm going to be expected to have prepared the emails by that point. And if I haven't done it, I'll feel silly. And I thought that was like fascinating, as a kind of human psychology thing.
Yeah, I think I definitely something like that would be helpful. It's funny because email is like it's such a I say thorn in my side. Sometimes I get really caught up with how marketing isn't exactly the way you think it would be, right? Like emails, there's a certain science and strategy, because if you give too much, people tune out. If you do it, like what you want to do directly, hey, XYZ. But if you don't present it in the nice wrapper, like, the amount of people that trail off and everything changes. So sometimes it just gripes me. I'm like, I've got so many success stories and so many things I can teach and say and do in email that I just need to bite the bullet and play with it and do it, rather than
Yeah, and like email promotions is where there's about 80% of the revenue is in a course business, from my experience. So if you're not doing the email promotions regularly and you're still doing well, then that's a good sign that you could be doing way better if you do email promotions regularly.
Well, it was funny because a couple of weeks ago, I was like, well, I'm going to raise prices. And I was like, I've never done a raise price sequence. So I was just like, let me just blast it and do it. And I had really good results. And I was like, man, I should be doing more email stuff, because that was such a great week. And I was like, I'm sleeping on this, but it's good. It's good to learn the lesson now, right? It's never too late.
Doing price raises is one of my favorite email promotions, because it does better than almost anything else in terms of doing discounts. Because when you do a discount, people are like, oh, probably that discount will come back around again. When you do a price raise, you're saying the price is going from this amount to this higher amount, and it's never going back to it. So it might go back to that lower amount with a discount. I suppose that's possible, but people don't think that way. They're like, oh my God, this is a real urgency. I must take action now.
Yeah.
So you tend to get really good conversion rates on those. I love that.
Yeah. Well, at least the funnel's there now, and I plan to probably raise by another 500 within the next couple months. So I'll just basically, at least now this time, it's already set up, and I'll just feed people straight there.
So how much is your course? Do you have just one, or is it multiple ones?
So right now the course is on the website it's $14.97.
Sorry, I clicked on your sales page. You started talking.
Yeah, so it's $14.97 normal price, and then if you go through the webinar, it's $9.97. So
Okay.
I'll be moving that up to $19.97 full price, probably $14.97 through the webinar. And I think even the ultimate, probably the last time, I'll probably have it live on the course page, like the full price version be $24.97, just to make that $14.97 through the webinar look more appetizing, and maybe occasional bumps to $19.97 in the webinar. I'll test it and see what works. I mean, it's funny because when I first started, it was $2.97 when I first started, right? Because you have to verify the product, and it's gotten better and stuff. But it's just funny to see. At first, you're so scared to raise pricing, and now I'm like, let's raise it more. Like.
Well, one of the things that I love there is that you're doing a webinar. That's one of your main funnels, because webinars are fantastic for being able to sell courses at a higher price point.
Mm-hmm.
What system did you go through to create the webinar? Did you use Russell Brunson's work, or how did you do that?
So I did a combination of using Russell Brunson with which he bases his off. I think the guy's name is Jeremy Flanagan or something like that. The
Jason
one to
Fladlien.
that's what it is. See the names.
Yeah.
It's hard because Russell's name always pops up. But
Yeah.
I read both those books. That played into it, and then building my offer, a bit of Russell Brunson stuff, and also Alex Hormozi's $100 million offers played
That's a
into
good book.
that
Yeah.
psychology. It's so good.
Yeah.
And then
Somewhere.
Russell. Oh,
Go
I
on.
was just going to say Russell Brunson also, he works with a chick named McCall Jones, and she does, I think she sells a course now. It's called Offer Secrets, but she has a webinar where she basically also talks about how you can frame and pitch the offer at the end. And her principles are really good and really coincide and work well with Russell Brunson. So that also played into it.
Nice. Yeah. So I went through a lot of training from Russell Brunson and Jason Fladlien, and somewhere they've done it together. The two of them have like done training together. And so the story, as I understand it, is that Russell's was based on, he would go to seminars in person a lot. And he at first wasn't using any of these tactics. And then he gradually added them in one at a time. This is at least the way he tells it. He might be telling it for like entertainment value more than, historical accuracy. But like each time he'd see another seminar and someone would do a technique, he's like, oh, I should add that in. And then he'd add that technique in as well. And then he'd go, oh, that technique's really good. And he'd add that one in as well. Keep building. Until he got the perfect webinar system. And I suspect Jason, I don't know, may have done the same kind of thing, but he's got a slightly different angle, hasn't he? Like Jason's got his 4 techniques or something. And Russell Brunson talks about 3 secrets. And they're very similar. They're kind of slightly different, How long did it take you to create that webinar when you did that? Did you like do it live a bunch of times? Did you just work and then record it? How did it go?
I'd say the first time I did it, well, the whole project itself probably took me way longer than it needed to. I think because you and ah about it, you overthink it, you write it, you rip it up, you write it again. So I think that first edition of the webinar was probably like a 6-month process. Because at the time I didn't really have the course yet, so I was building that too, which now I know I could have done that a little bit differently, build it after you sell it. But, anyway, that was my journey. So I did that first one, put it live, and it was working. And then I started doing it live as well. Not to the extent that Russell promotes. He always says do it for a year every week. Didn't do it to that extent. I probably did it somewhere between 10 and 15 times. I noticed things I wanted to improve, things that were good, things that I wanted to throw out. And then I created my second version, which that probably took me a couple months, just again, rewrites and all of that. And then I've been writing with that. Then I started doing a few more lives. I probably did it so this is probably over the course of a year now. You've seen I've done probably I'm on version 2.3 after doing probably somewhere over 20 lives. And now I even have what I want to do for the next one. And again, I'm kicking and umming and ahhing because I don't want to sit and do it, but I need to. So that's on my agenda now to do the newer, most perfect and best one. So then I can kind of leave that alone. But I mean, I've probably had this last one's probably been almost a year now that it's been going, maybe 9 months, 8 months. Yeah.
Nice. And what's the way that you drive traffic to that? Is that all from Instagram? Is it Instagram plus you promote it via email regularly? Do you do ads? Like, how do you get people out on there?
So right now I do it through Instagram, right? I use a ManyChat sequence. If you comment this and I'll send you my free training. I promote it everywhere that I have links, right? So even on my LinkedIn, on my Facebook, everywhere you'll see that the link that you can get is that. I've got a Facebook group where, again, that gets thrown around and promoted as well every now and then. And on email, what I'm starting to do is just to have when it's a broadcast email at the bottom, it'll have a footer and it's just hey, if you want to work on a yacht, free training, whatever. If you want to work with me directly, click here, right? Just basically put that on the footer of all those syndicated emails. So then at least it's regularly getting in front of people. But a lot of people's first step is that webinar, or if they go with any of my other free guides or checklists or whatever, the sequences will drive them through a series of emails, and then it will ultimately lead them down the webinar chain. And then after that, they'll go into the general tank.
And do you re-promote the webinar to your main email list at all?
When there's been changes, yes, but that's something I should do more often. That's what we're working on.
That is, I think it's one of the easiest tweaks to make when you've got a great webinar funnel is just to remember you can just promote it again to the same email list, even to the people who've been on the webinar before. Oh,
some
well,
of them
you'd have forgotten it, you know.
Yeah, well, sorry, I do that in a way. So basically, I think it's every 3 months, or I can't remember if it's either every 3 months. I think they'll get re-put into the webinar sequence. So
Okay.
it'll walk them through the emails, saying it'll warm them up again. It'll tell a little story. It'll push webinar, push webinar, push webinar, and then it will be the open card sequence. So that does happen on a regular basis. Yes.
Nice. That's awesome. And where are you at revenue-wise at the moment? Like, what kind of what's your like average month right now?
Right now, we're probably sitting between 10 and 20 per month on five
Okay.
figures. Our peak was 25, but then when I started doing like below deck and working, I kind of like obviously split my vision. And then I slowed down on social media, so as we started ramping back up. So that's my goal, to bring it back to 20 and then grow it onwards from that.
And do you ever do any higher ticket offers on top of it? Like, you know, where someone could get more coaching from you as well or anything like that?
What I was toying with for a bit, it was basically trying to do a package where you could come and work directly like with me on my yacht, and then basically do that like maybe like an intensive for like a week or two, and then move that out. It was just so hard to schedule because our lifestyle and with yachts, everything's so up in the air. Like my goal is if I can get on a boat that's like just sitting and I know it's sitting there, then I can start doing that, right? But when everything's like on a tip of a hat, I can't really do the in-person, but I think the in-person would be great, because then I could really like, they'd walk away with a job experience, with a reference letter, with like having seen and done everything from me. And that's obviously the highest ticket you can do. But I'm trying to think of something on the in-between, but then I realize the lowest hanging fruit, raise the price of my own thing, and then find out where I can put something in the middle.
What's the process? You mentioned that you had done coaching and that you were reviewing people's CV. Is that still part of the package now, or is that not included anymore?
No, that's still part of the package. So
Okay.
I kind of have like a roadmap, and before they move and before they relocate and start looking for work, there's a module where it's all about building their CV, their reference letters, and all of that. And what they'll do is they'll basically create it. I have the templates. They'll plug and play all their information. They'll upload it into our community, and I'll just do a loom where I basically talking head, and I go through and I dissect it. Sometimes I just really go hard at it. It depends what they need. And then they'll take that, they'll redo it, and then basically we usually take between 2 and 3 takes. The first one is usually where I do that intensive video, and then if the other ones I can just give like a text or voice note explaining what they need to do, I'll do that. And that's how we handle that side of it.
So do you have anything that you offer as an upsell at the moment? If someone buys the course for whatever it is, $14.97, I think you said it is at the moment, then can they pay you any more money, or is that as much as they're allowed to pay you at that point?
Well, right now, yeah, that's a good question, and I'm always looking for things to add to that. So right now, they can also add for me to do their CV for them. So if they pay an extra, either they can pay $2.99 at that order bump, or then if they don't buy it there, it becomes $3.99 at the next page as an upsell. They can do that. And if they do that, then basically I'll do it for them, and it's easy enough for me and my team to take care of that. I did try toying with, and it probably just wasn't. I didn't either have enough traffic going through it, or I needed to perfect it some. I tried doing like a upsell that was a weekly, kind of like making it more like a weekly intensive where I'd meet with you. Like I would do some live training, and like I think like twice a month I'd get on a call with you and kind of like really make sure to make it more accountable, more in your face, more like you can't fail. But again, I didn't have any takers on that. Well, I did have one, and then I think they ended up abandoning because that not because of me, just because they changed their plans with yachting. So I do have that in there. It's not still being pushed to the people as an upsell. I think I probably need to refine it a little bit better, maybe explain it better, have a better sales video. But that was something I was trying to do because it seemed like low-hanging fruit. It just meant literally giving you more accountability.
It seems like a good fit. Sometimes what seems like a good fit turns out not to be, but like that's surprising because that does feel like a really good, like obvious kind of upsell to have in terms of same stuff, but just coaching that goes with it. Interesting. What's the vision for you? Where do you want to get to with your business over the next kind of year?
Over the next year, I'd want to grow it more. Like we talked about raising prices. And I have a lot of stuff that basically what I want to set it up to be is that you come in, right? You get the coaching with possibly the higher tier coaching. That drives you to become Yacht Crew. Once you become Yacht Crew, what I want to add as like one of the bonuses is basically that gives you 12 months free or like 6 months free maybe in our community, right? Because everyone that becomes an alum is now dumped into this giant community, and I'm working into building the right, basically polling them, and I'm getting a lot of feedback on what they need for the next step, right? So once you're in that community, then it'll be whether you want to work on deck, become a captain, maybe become a stew, basically have paths for that. So then people can kind of stay recurring, and then they can pay to get like coaching in those branches is what I'm thinking. So that way people get dumped in. If they just want to be like a passive member now of the community, keep seeing jobs, etc., that'll be one thing. And if they want coaching directly into the path that they're trying to go into, that'll be similar, but hopefully higher price than what they just did. I'm also right now doing a lot of I'm getting my last captain courses, or my last captain certification. So right now I'm like absorbing a bunch of info, taking courses. And I've realized that even for that, like if you're at the point that I was maybe 3 years ago and you want to become a captain, there's a lot of money there because there's a lot of prep and materials and things you need to do to get ready for it. And that would be good to also make it one of the branches, right? So maybe it's like there's the community for everyone that's an alum of us. And then if there's a lot of yacht crew that want to come in, and I'm just trying to create enough value that people can come in that weren't at the beginning, but now they're wanting to be part of the community and then continue to get coaching. So I really want to handle, I feel like once I unlock that piece, everything will make sense, because I have a lot of people that are basically waiting outside going, how can you help me? And I just need to archetype and draw out the whole thing so I can continue to do so in an efficient way that doesn't obviously blow up the first thing or derail the second thing.
Do you think there's a lot of demand for the stuff around becoming a captain? Like, is that a big enough section of your market?
That'd be something to test. So I wouldn't go crazy without verifying first. But I know my niche is in like super yachting.
I love it. I pretty much only hire engineers in my business. Because this is the mindset that like we've got a mechanical engineer, a computer engineer, biomedical scientist. So that one doesn't exactly fit, but it's not too far off. Like my background was in mathematics. It's like everybody is, the business is called data-driven marketing. And it's like, there's just a certain way of thinking that like engineers have. So sorry, I interrupted, but that's just really...
No, it's good. I think that's what people always ask me, do you regret doing engineering? And I think, look, just because I'm not sitting behind a desk doing engineering work doesn't mean that those principles and that mindset doesn't help me every day in what I do. And I do agree, like what you said, it really helps with the business. My coach also, he does courses, but he's also a mechanical engineer. So I think proof's in the pudding on that. Going back to what you said, it's interesting because I know my industry has a lot of need for it, but you asked, does my audience? And that would be a good thing to poll and see, because I don't know how many captains are looking for that from me now, but I know that they're looking elsewhere, because I know that as one myself, we have very limited resources in this industry. We have very limited ways of finding out certain things. And that also goes into the ethos of why I do this whole thing. I want to connect crew and use technology to leverage community, education, entertainment, because even though we're this big luxury thing, super yachts, and you'd think, whoa, there's so much money that's floating around there. There must be, that some of that might be making its way into the crew and their services and how they better themselves, but really there's not. So kind of on uncharted ground there. So that'll be something to test.
Yeah. I really like the way you're thinking about that it's like, this is your thinking of the directions you could go, but you're going to check, you're going to verify, you're going to test and see, is this something people actually want before, spending 6 months building it or whatever it might take. No. What's kind of getting in the way at the moment? What's stopping you from reaching any of your goals?
That's a good point. Probably myself, I'd say. Like, certain things I'm building better systems. I think manpower always leads into it, right? So I'm getting like things that I don't want to do anymore, right? Like I don't want to cross post and move things about and everything, but I'm trying to finish putting together good systems so then my VAs will do it. Again, email is something that I need to systematize a bit better so I actually do it, because being already spread so thin, I need to make sure that I'm not just trying to throw darts, but that I'm actually very thoughtful and mindful with my time. So I've built a lot of good systems and made sure that most of the business that I don't need to be in is running around me or without me, and I'm working on perfecting that, and I want to do a better job of doing that with the content, because I think that's the biggest thing right now is traffic, right? The system works, everything works perfectly. The funnel, the course, the guaranteed the results, everything's good. Just about getting more people in there. How do you do it? by having better systems about how you make content. So I just got a video editor very recently, so I need to start pumping through stuff through that funnel, and then just make sure that I get my VA to start moving things across to all the other platforms. And again, just sprinkle some fairy dust and then count the money, right?
So how big's your team now? You've got a VA, you work with your girlfriend, you've got a video editor, maybe freelance now. Is there anybody else?
Yeah, so it's me and my girlfriend. We work together. I've got like you said, I've got a graphic design / content VA, I call her. And then I also have my video editor. Both of them are freelance, so basically however much work I give them, that's how much they charge. And that's basically it. I also have like, you remember from 4 Hour Workweek, like you can get one of those agencies. I think I have like Brickwork and all of those. Like I have one that I have on a low hour basis for just like data entry and in random tasks that I don't want to do myself, but I'm not going to assign to the content or video editor. So they'll do a lot of that grunt work. And that's where we're at right now.
Okay, cool. And how is that working out for you? Obviously, you're out in Southeast Asia still?
Well, I just stepped off of Alpha Super Yacht right now. So I'm in Medellin. I'm in Colombia. We took a week to just really unwind.
Yeah, beautiful. The land of eternal spring, right?
Yeah, that's what they told me. I didn't know the weather's amazing here.
Yeah. I haven't been, but I keep hearing about it from friends. There's like there's a lot of friends of mine who are based down there. So what's the next step then? Let's think. You've talked us through, you've just hired this video editor. You're going to start making more content. You want to create these systems. Is this all, do you feel like this is all on the right track, or do you feel like, oh, there's some bits where are you going to manage all of this, or is it like still, this is kind of the plan, but you don't know if it's all doable? How are you feeling about it?
No, I feel good. I mean, it's definitely doable. It's just I just need to separate myself from the other things I was doing, right? Like the captain thing takes a lot of time. If anyone was wondering, it takes a lot of time, and running this business takes time, and it just was about not splitting my time ultimately that much. And then with the Below Deck stuff recently that we just finished airing our season finale, that also took time, right? That also had podcasts and appearances and things that were going with that. So I think I've just kind of been in a holding pattern where, juggling a few different plates. And now it's just, let me just finish what I need to do, finish getting the marketing systems up, start feeding the editor. That way I can be more at the top running what's going to happen with the content, rather than feeling like every day we're like, what are we doing again? Because with everything else in the business, it's systematized. Like if you buy, I don't need to touch you until we're showing up to your first call, right? Everything runs, and that's how everything else needs to run. Now I don't go in one day and go, okay, like who hasn't gotten their email with their CV check? No, like that all runs. So just making sure that the content feels exactly the same is going to make it so the system can then be better, and then I can kind of focus my energy on everything else.
Nice. That sounds great. I love it. One of the things that you'd mentioned is you want to do more regular emails and broadcast Seinfeld emails, as Russell Brunson says. Can you tell everybody about Seinfeld emails and like what those are and why Russell's recommending those?
Sure. So if anyone's wondering where this comes from, it's from the first book that Russell put out in his Secrets trilogy. It's .com Secrets. And in this one, this is before he talks about the webinar, before everything, he talks about the importance of emails, which some people think that, now with social media and with DMs and IMs and all this stuff, like we don't need to do emails, right? And what he argues and what everyone knows is that we own, technically we use an email service provider, but we own that traffic, right? That's where people, that their info's ours, everything there is ours. We send when we want, we do what we want. Like no one can really take that away unless you stop paying the bills. Whereas with Mark Zuckerberg's kingdom and everywhere else, you're subject to a shadow ban or a blacklist or a hack, and then suddenly, your whole business is up in flames. So everyone always needs to move their traffic into their email list to make sure that they can always reach their people if they need to. You're always going to have a drop-off, right? I have, like I mentioned, 73,000 are on Instagram, 14,000 are on emails. But you get better and better at driving people to the email. And then once they're there, it's about giving them combinations of value emails. But Seinfeld emails particularly are the concept of, you can watch one episode of Seinfeld and you get what you need. It was funny, it was entertaining, whatever. And it doesn't exactly tie into the next one. And you can watch a bunch of them back to back, and they're great and they're entertaining and whatever. And the idea is that you can send daily emails, and sometimes it's snippets of your life, sometimes it's lessons, sometimes it's something about whatever happened, but tying it back to your business, right? It could be, and Russell's brilliant at it because he can go get a cup of coffee and suddenly have some insight on how that has to do with ClickFunnels. And he'll come back and tell some story about getting his cup of coffee, and while he was waiting in line, this thing happened. And that's why you shouldn't wait ever. And your life can change in one moment and blah, 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 blah. And you're entertained. And then you're suddenly like, shit, I need to do this. And might have butchered that a little bit, but that's the concept. Finding things in your life that people can find you entertaining, that they can find that you're human, they can kind of assimilate with you. And then you're also driving that back to the business. Because if you're just hitting someone on the head with like, buy, 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 or hey, today we're doing a sale. Oh, this is so much better than my competitor. Or like, you just end up sounding like those 90s commercials at night, like buy now, call now. But if you follow that kind of thing, then you're organically making yourself likable. People are continuing to trust you, to see you every day. And that's the thing, you see the person every day consistently coming. Then you're going to be like, well, what's behind the paywall if they're giving me this much out here?
Nice.
I feel like that. That's kind of what I remember. A little bit of paraphrasing on my end. Let me know if I missed anything.
No, it's great. I like it. Yeah, if anybody hasn't read any of Russell Brunson's books and is like considered it or whatever, they are excellent. Like .com Secrets is absolutely fantastic and a really entertaining read as well. Like he's kind of short and to the point and gets on with it. And expert, if you want to do a webinar, Expert Secrets is fantastic. That really breaks it down. I did my first webinar like building around the perfect webinar system from Russell Brunson, following one chapter of .com Secrets, and then he came out with a whole book that he breaks the whole thing down in much more detail. So that's fantastic. I've gone through his webinar that he did for ClickFunnels. It's up on YouTube many times because it's such a masterclass in how to do one of the webinars that he's talking about. And you can kind of, once you know how it works, you're like, oh, he's doing this thing here and that thing there. And he's like, oh, but that's clever. That was nicely done, wasn't it? That's really good. So, and I'm a massive webinar fan. I think webinars is one of the best marketing funnels that you can use. It's like absolutely fantastic. And a lot of people don't do it. And we don't always encourage people to do it because I've seen the drop-off rate in terms of actually getting it built. Because like you said, it was like 6 months work to build your first one. It's like, whoo, that's a commitment. And not everyone's ready to do that. Whereas email promotions, people can do more easily. But if you're selling something higher ticket like you are, then it's stonking for it. Absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, definitely. Have you read Traffic Secrets as well?
I've got it on my shelf, and I feel bad because I've been raving to everybody about the other books, and I haven't read it. Have you?
Yeah, it's good. I think the first time I read it was probably very early in my business, but really good concepts there too. I mean, it's nothing out of this world, but just again, Russell has a way of telling you the things you need to do in an order that makes sense. And he has a way of like how he talks about approaching bigger people in your niche or approaching, slant businesses that could also help with your business, and all the things he starts talking about are, they're really good and they're very practical. It's about creating your dream 100 or 100 places that you'd like your stuff featured on. And you go from there, right? You can have 100 podcasts, 100 Instagram accounts, 100 whatever. And then how do we go about doing that? And he kind of deconstructs and makes a system for it.
Yeah, Dream 100s are really, we use that approach. It's originally, at least as far as I know, it's from a guy called Chet Holmes, who Russell Brunson had learned it from. Russell popularized it a lot more. Chet passed away a number of years ago. But I watched some training from him it looked like it was, I don't know, filmed in Indiana in the early 90s or something. It's the style of the hotel room that it was in. I was like, oh my goodness, that is a look you guys have got there. But yeah, like targeting the exact perfect people that you wanted. Like I really, really wanted to be on Pat Flynn's Smart Passive Income podcast. And so I just would reach out to him like every few months and invite him on my podcast. And eventually he had a book that was coming out, and then he said yes to coming on. And then when he came on at the end of it, I said to him, is there anything I could do for you? And he's like, oh, why don't you come on my podcast? I'm like, what a great idea, Pat. I love it. And then I was like, that's not enough though. I think I can do more to help these guys. So then I'd like started doing funnel reviews for their funnel. And then I got in touch with them. So now I talk with like their CEO and their marketing team, what have you, and give them feedback. And I'm doing a webinar for the audience in November because I'm like, this is exactly who I should be in front of. So it's like, what do I need to do to like just make friends and help until eventually that, I kind of get the chance to be in front of the audience. So that was part of our kind of Dream 100 model that we were running.
Yeah, brilliant.
Well, I'm going to stop there. I really, really appreciate your time coming on the podcast. I don't want to overstay my welcome. If someone wants to go check out your webinar, or they want to go check you out, where should they go?
So if anyone's interested in yachting and they want to travel the world, get paid to do it, superyachtsundayschool.com. You're going to see in the top right corner, there's a free masterclass. That's my webinar. You can come check it out. And if also you're just someone who loves Russell Brunson's work and seeing what other proteges are trying to do, then perfect. It follows the perfect webinar format. And then if you want to learn more about it without having to sit through a webinar, then come check us out on Instagram. That's where we post all our content, what it's like to be crew, what it's like to travel the world, follow my journey along the way. And that'll also inevitably lead you down the various freebies and also webinar as well. So whichever way you want, come follow us on Instagram and come see what that life's like.
So that was superyachtsundayschool.com or
Correct.
Instagram.com/superyachtsundayschool.
Yeah. And for anyone that's wondering, remember, yacht is YACHT. It's a former Dutch word. People always want to say yacht. It's super yacht.
Beautiful. Thank you, everybody, as always, so much for listening. Really appreciate you guys. And Hugo, thanks so much for coming on. Really, really appreciate your time.
Thank you, John. Appreciate it. Pleasure talking to you.